In the previous videos, we mentioned about the do's of technical writing. So far, we have covered two aspects. First is to be clear, and second is to be concrete. We know that in order to be clear, we will need to use simple words instead of complex words in constructing our sentence. We would like to have simple sentence instead of long and complex sentence. And when we construct the sentence, there should be only one idea per sentence. It was also mentioned the importance of avoiding the ambiguous language, which can lead to more than one meaning that can mislead the readers. It is our obligations to ensure all the terminology used, the sentence, the pronouns, and the punctuations are to reflect the exact meaning and to be specific to the reader in order to avoid different comprehensions from what it is intended to. We also mentioned about to be concrete in our technical writing. That means the choice of the words must be right, which is precise in communicating our informations. This includes providing an exact numbers within the sentences. If providing exact figures is not possible, we can even provide some estimates for the readers to have an idea in terms of the degrees and magnitudes that you are actually describing. We have to refrain ourselves from using exaggerated terminologies, as this will affect our credibility. It was also mentioned that there are words connotations, which to some degree implies the negative, neutral, and positive conditions of the things that we are describing. We need to be mindful that not to mix those negative and positive connotations in order to prevent prior expectations which end up to be in the opposite manner as the readers read through your statements. Now we will proceed with the third part of the do's for the technical writing, which is to be concise. The meaning of concise is we need to construct our sentence as short as possible, carrying a high level concentrations of informations. Make every words and statement counts. It is when the words and the statements play their significant roles within the technical writing, only then they are allowed to be incorporated within the writings. You will need to eliminate the redundancies, where you need to avoid needless repetitions of the words, meaning, or state what is obvious. You need to make every sentence count. That means every sentence in your writing need to some extent be meaningful to the reader. You do not need to keep on repeating certain points as if reminding the reader or reminding yourself. As a normal reader who have read through your early part of your technical writing should have already have an idea, and it is not required for you to continuously remind them on the point. You may save that for some other more significant point to be presented to the reader and not to waste time of the readers. This is an example of eliminating the redundancy. The aluminium metal cathode become pitted during the glow discharge. The metal here is redundant, as it is obvious aluminium is a metal. Even if you remove this metal here, it will not alter the meaning, neither it will discount the informations to be given to the reader. Therefore, you may correct the sentence by removing the words metal. These are some other examples of redundancies, such as already, existing. That means you can remove the already, as existing in fact have the informations of already. Same goes to the others. Completely eliminate. uniformly homogeneous, basic fundamentals, continue to remind, past experience, cylindrical in shape, mixed together, repeat again, period of time, never before, start out. What you see here from the list of the example here, if you remove all the words in the brackets, the informations to be given to the reader are not being discounted. That means those words you can actually remove without much concern. Another aspect of the Be Concise is to eliminate meaningless phrases. This kind of meaningless phrases offers no information to the reader, and therefore it is not necessary. For an example, it is interesting to note that over 90 incidents of satellite fragmentations have produced over 36,000 kilograms of space debris is superfluous. You see the phrase here is actually a redundant. The meaning of the sentence will not be affected if you remove this. Therefore, it is not necessary. You may go straight to the point here without having this phrase here, and the meaning is still 100% effectively delivered. These are the examples of the meaningless phrases. For example, a matter of facts, it is interesting or significant or noteworthy that in the course of, in the presence of, it is unnecessary to state that. It should be pointed out that the fact that we might add that, notwithstanding the fact that, it goes without saying that. You see, these phrases are commonly used to emphasize certain things, which most of the time it is actually not necessary, and this will prolong the sentence. I would suggest that you only use it once a while when you really want to emphasize something. Otherwise, you should just go straight to the point. The next point about the conciseness is to replace wordy phrases with shorter alternatives. The fundamental of conciseness is, if you can construct a sentence with 5 words, you should not go for 10 words, as it adds no value to the information to be delivered to the reader. And when it adds no value to the readers, it is not necessary. Although there is a wide variety of words that you can use, and it is totally up to you to choose which to be used, and often the writer would like to have a good variety of the word choice within the technical writing, so that the writing doesn't look dull. However, you need to know the fact that technical writing itself is quite dull, as it carries a lot of solid informations, a lot of facts and figures, and to comprehend these solid informations, the reader requires prior knowledge. No matter how you play around with different phrases and terminology, the nature of technical writing, which is dull, is very difficult to overcome. I would suggest that a more reasonable strategy now, it would be to keep that technical writing as short as possible, giving the reader a perceptions and that he or she cannot miss any of the words or the phrase given by you, as every word, sentence and phrase really counts. Then they will have to keep themselves engaged with your technical writing. Keeping your writings to be as short as possible, it will save their times, as they do not need to filter which statement or which phrase is not really significant, while which are more significant and important. Therefore, it is not necessary for you to use wordy phrases. You can always find an equivalent phrase which is less wordy. There is a list here. which you can refer to. For an example, at this point in time, might as well you write it now or currently. During the course of, you just put during. Has the ability or potential to, you just put can. There is no doubt that, undoubtedly. In the event that, you can use if. Attribute the ability to, just use can. For the purpose of investigating, to investigate. In order to. In spite of the fact that, though, or you may use although. In the view of the fact that, because. It was apparent that, apparently. Owing to the fact that, since. The reason why it is that, because. What you see here, there is always some words that you can use in equivalent to the long phrases here. Your first option, it will be the phrases with the least numbers of words. Next, we need to be correct in our technical writing. The correct here means the correct use of the formal language. You should avoid slang, colloquial language, contractions, personal pronouns, emotive language. These are the examples. You know that technical writing is a formal writing. You should use the formal language. The slang like dicey, awesome, and iffy, hassle are non-formal language. To be honest, I only know the term awesome. The rest most likely come from the native English speaker. You would like your technical writing to be accessible by the researcher worldwide. You should use standard English and not those can only be understood by the researchers of certain regions. When you are giving example, such as will be more formal, like will be less formal. Therefore, next time when you need to give a list of example, instead of using like, maybe you should just use such as. The contractions like don't, can't, didn't, wasn't, is should be avoided. These are meant for conversations. You will need to write your technical paper in the third person. Therefore, personal pronouns like I, me, and you should be avoided. You want to portray yourself to be professional, and whichever statement you have made, you would like it to be objective and supported with facts and figures. Therefore, emotive language such as luckily, unfortunately, surprisingly, thankfully, which is rather personal, should be avoided. Next, you need to use the correct grammar and correct tenses. And your sentence should be correctly constructed. The fifth element of the do's for the technical writing, it will be to be consistent. First, you will need to use the formal language to be consistent throughout your technical writing, not to swap every now and then between the formal and informal language. Second, when you use the keyword here, you will need to use the same word throughout the technical writing. You are not supposed to interchange with several synonyms, which might confuse the reader. And then in terms of the spellings, you know that there are UK style and US style. You will need to choose one and make it consistent throughout your technical writing. And also in terms of the formats of the units, this need to be consistent also throughout the technical writing. For example, when you are talking about the votes, sometimes you present it in votes V or votes or votes. You will have to choose one and then use it throughout your technical writing. Since that we mentioned about different spelling by UK and US styles, these are some of the examples here. Some may spell differently, such as aluminium, analog, behavior, color, defense, fibers, and so on and so forth. Some may be different terms, such as anti-clockwise, counterclockwise, aeroplane, airplane, timber, lumber, and so on and so forth. Normally, we interchange the usage of the terminology for those which we are more familiar, but you need to aware that you still stick to either UK or US, not to use them interchangeably.